I'm in the middle of cold calling, but I kind of feel like I should get some I feel like I should get some um what the hell was I saying? I completely forgot what I was saying. I'm in the middle of cold calling, but I feel like I should I feel like I should make some content. That's what I was gonna say. So I'm working on this book and videos to go with the course, the Evil Landlord's White Glove Service. So that's uh that's the thing. That's the main point of it. Um, what is it about? It is about self-managing, creating an in-house management team to basically make management as profitable as possible for you and not pay people who are not really building your brand because I think that is useless essentially. Um, so it's just kind of like making sure there's efficiency to your spend. So the first part is about being yourself. The second part is about building a team, how to build a team. I'm actually thinking about going into a new market, and I was just discussing it with my wife how we're going to build the new team. So I really put into practice what I'm teaching here, what I'm explaining. I'm just sharing what I do essentially, and it works because I've been doing it for a while and it's been going well. Basic bookkeeping, this is just to make sure you keep track of your expenses and have your taxes under control. And the last one we did was about finding deals. This one is about financing, how to use the banks. So there's a few ways to finance. So the first thing I'm going to say is you could just do a conventional loan, especially for a single family home. What will happen as an investor is you will exhaust the bank's patience with you very, very quickly with that. And if you don't have good credit, or if you're self-employed, that's out of the question anyway. So I'm going to gloss over that. You can just talk to any mortgage broker about that and get the information. If you need a mortgage broker, let me know. I will give you one. But let's talk about the DSCR loan. That is the investor's best friend, in my opinion. It is the debt service coverage ratio loan. So this loan is based on the deal itself and how much money it will bring in as an STR, an LTR, whatever it is. And will that money cover the loan enough so that you can service the loan and make the bank feel comfortable that you'll be able to service the loan? So it's usually done as a ratio. If you'd like to see the math behind it, just let me know and I will actually show you exactly how it's done. I'll show you it on a spreadsheet and you can see how the DSCR ratio is calculated. Your most banks are going to look for a 1.3 ratio. So in other words, you have to have enough profit after it's all said and done to cover that. It's like a 30% ratio to the amount of debt that you're asking them to service. So do a DSCR loan. If you're doing a short-term rental, you can get a vacation loan. Most DSCR loans, the bank is going to ask you to put down absolute minimum 20% and probably more like 25%, even 30%. So a lot of it is you're going to have to come up with cash. With the vacation loan, you're only going to be putting 10% down. If you can do a VHA loan, you're only putting down 3.5%. And if you're connected to the military or have a family member who's connected to the military, get a VA loan because you can put 0% down. And you can even get cash back on closing, which is crazy. So those are the best loans essentially to get these deals done. But then let's also talk about some other stuff. Like one thing that you're going to do is you're going to do cash out refinances on the investments that you already have. And you're going to plan to do cash out refinance on the investments you're getting involved in. And what that will allow you to do is it will allow you to cash out and then take that cash to put into the down payment for the next DSCR loan. So that's kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy that you can build. So that's one thing. And then the other thing is you can basically partner up. And there's two ways to do this. You can use private money where you get money from a bunch of people and then put it all together. That's a really nice way to come up with down payment money. And then you also can do hard money that will pay the entire amount for something, a much higher interest rate. But after you get it all set up, you do some rehab, then you go to a regular bank and get a conventional loan, pay back the hard money loan, and take some money on the top, and then have your tenant start paying that down. So that's your BRRRR strategy basically done. You do hard money first, and then you do a conventional loan. But basically no matter how you do it, to you need to have a plan for how you're going about financing stuff. So this is what I've realized with my experience is that you need to have funds. What kind of funds do I mean? Like, I don't mean like you need to have funds. Obviously, you need to have funds. You need to have actual money, but you need to work on building a war chest, right? And you need to have a reserve fund. So every month that you're collecting rent, you need to put a portion of that into a reserve fund. That's for when shit hits the fan. That shit hits the fan money. That's for stuff like new roof if it's not covered by insurance, new HVAC when it breaks, window gets smashed, you need a new window. Boom, $1,000 has got to be double impact hurricane window. You know, code inspection is going to double check you did it properly. You need a permit. This stuff's expensive. So you need to have a reserve fund. But building your war chest is really what I want to talk about. A reserve fund is just a matter of, and if you listen to old podcasts with Brandon Turner or something, he's awesome at just telling you just set aside 10%, 15% and build up that reserve fund. If it builds up too high, you take some as profit, but just be sure you have, God forbid, money. So that's important. The war chest, I think, is very rarely talked about. Like you need to have money, especially after you're a deal or two in, after you have like a small amount of success, you need to have money to create more deals. So where should you keep a war chest? Like I always think of like the pirate's trunk with you open it up and there's gold coins and stuff inside, um, that sound, insert sound here. So that's kind of the way I think of it. But in today's world, obviously, you can have it in a bank account. You need it to be fairly liquid. That way, when you do want to spend it, it's ready to go. Um, I think a much better way to do it right now is in Bitcoin and just have it appreciate and basically have more money than what you put in when you need to use it. And then you can also do a whole life cash flow policy where you set the money aside. The problem with this one is this takes a while to build. This takes like 3 years absolute minimum, even if you're front loading it like crazy, and probably takes more like 7 years to build. But this is really cool because now you can loan money to yourself, put it into a deal, use the deal to pay it back, and never go to anybody for permission. You're just being your own bank. So I think this is probably the best way to do it. And you're making a return, let's say you're making 5% a year on your your policy, you're using that to pay back the loan. So essentially, you're paying back the loan with their money. So it's so good. And then you have your cash flow coming in. You refurbish it and then you pull it out and take it again. Another way to do it is if you have a property already, whether it's you own your house or you have an investment property, you do a home equity line of credit, pull out a bunch of money, and then use that to buy more properties, to put down payments for more properties. So regardless of how you do it, um, you absolutely need to think about how you're building a fund. And you can also do a syndication where you put a bunch of people together to pool money to then do a deal. Syndication is really good if you're doing a multifamily property that could use a little bit of work and putting that money into rehabbing it to increase the value to then cash out, refinance, and pay back your investors and then own a better property. The really good thing about doing rehab with all of these situations and scenarios is that once you do the rehab, you don't have as much maintenance. So you basically give yourself a better property, which is kind of the goal. So those are the basics. So essentially, for financing, using the banks, you're going to do DSCR loan, you're going to do cash out refis and HELOCs. You're going to do conventional and vacation loans. Occasionally, if you can, do an FHA loan or a VA loan if you're military, and then start building funds. You need a war chest, whether it's bank account, Bitcoin, whole life cash flow. You need to have that war chest, and you need to have a reserve fund. And use private money and use hard money as you can. And there's even some, some less common scenarios like gap funding where you have a loan set up, but you just need a little bit of money to make it happen, and you can get somebody to do that. And also, actually, Facebook groups are pretty good for this stuff. Like you can pool resources. I got one loan through a Facebook group, so I mean, it's definitely possible to do that. It was a small loan that I just needed some money quickly, and that actually works. So, um, I think that's everything about that. So the key thing is to get your financing in order and to kind of have a plan of how you're going to do things. I built out my refi till you die strategy years ago, and I'm just doing it. 5 years ago, I probably wrote down, okay, I'm going to have this property refinance at this time, and then this property refinance at this time, and I'm just kind of going along and doing that. I mean, essentially, your properties will double in value, especially double in the amount of money you put down on them. That money, that equity will double every 12 years. So if you can stagger and buy one property a year for 12 years, you'll basically have a new refi coming due every year that will then allow you to build a bigger portfolio and increase your cash flow. So that's kind of a great strategy, and that's all tax-free strategy, which makes real estate so much better than investing in the S&P or something else. Even selling Bitcoin has a tax consequence. So with the real estate, you can beat that tax consequence by not selling, either doing 1031 exchanges or doing refis that are not um, starting a tax consequence. So that's some part of the brilliance of real estate. One more thing, if you'd like to see the full amount of why a real estate deal makes money, like in other words, the cash flow, the appreciation, the mortgage pay down, and the depreciation, just let me know and I will actually show it to you, or we can get on a Zoom call and I'll show you it with like your numbers, how that works. Because I think that gives you kind of like the macro vision of why this is so effective. And it is really effective. So that's everything regarding financing.